You may have heard me talk about NFTs on this channel, but one of the interesting things that have really gained traction over this last year or two are called Bitcoin Ordinals. In this video, I'm going to tell you guys everything you need to know about these Bitcoin Ordinals and my personal thoughts and opinions on them. First things first, what exactly are Bitcoin Ordinals? Bitcoin Ordinals are images and data that are inscribed onto Satoshis, otherwise known as sats, on the Bitcoin blockchain. They're very similar to NFTs. It's just the technological implementation is a little bit different. Instead of smart contracts with NFTs on other chains, it is instead called inscribing, where you are literally inscribing data onto these Satoshis. Right now, these Bitcoin Ordinals are a small market at the time of this video, but in my opinion, Ordinals as well as the Bitcoin ecosystem is going to gain a lot of traction over the course of the next years. Now, how are these Ordinals different from regular NFTs? So the first thing is that these images are stored on the blockchain itself when it comes to Bitcoin, whereas with these other chains, the images aren't actually stored on chain, but instead using some sort of third-party system. Now, Bitcoin as a blockchain doesn't have the capability for smart contracts, and because of that, they also don't have royalties. And another interesting point is that they are completely immutable, which means they are unchangeable. Once the Satoshi is inscribed with this image, there's no changing that actual image, whereas with NFTs, if the smart contract is still open, you can have a lot of different capabilities and a lot of different changes for that project. Unlike Ethereum and Solana, the infrastructure right now for Bitcoin is on the smaller side, and the main focus when it comes to this community has to do with art and community, as well as sometimes the actual tech behind some of these ordinals, or how rare the Satoshi is that ordinal is inscribed on. Now, as I said a little bit earlier, because of Bitcoin scripting language, there aren't as many capabilities because there aren't any smart contract capabilities over on Bitcoin. And because of that, there aren't as many options when it comes to these different ordinals. However, there are different meta protocols and things starting to be built on Bitcoin, and I expect some of this to change. The last note here is that unlike Ethereum or Solana, where NFTs have been on chain since 2017, at least for Ethereum, the Bitcoin scene has been relatively new. I think it's been about a year and a half since these ordinals came out. I actually was tracking these when there were only 10,000 or about 20,000 ordinals or inscriptions in existence at the time. I even have a jelly cube at like 800,000 or something after I got bothered a million times for my community to make something like that. And now there's over 70 million inscriptions by the time I recorded this video. Now, they're not all ordinals. Everything happening on Bitcoin is called inscriptions. And some of these inscriptions can just be text, for example, whereas ordinals need to have some sort of image attached. Now that you know a little bit more about these ordinals, how exactly do you buy them? Well, you're going to need Bitcoin on a Chrome extension wallet. The main ones right now at the time of this video are called Xverse, Unisat, as well as Magic Eden. And I know that OKX is trying to get involved with their wallet. And I also know that there's probably going to be other wallets in the future that are going to add support. Currently, Magic Eden is the top marketplace by far when it comes to these different ordinals, but you also have the Unisat marketplace as well as Ordzar. And once again, I expect more marketplaces to add capabilities over time. The last thing here is buying and selling is very similar to NFTs on other chains. It's a very easy process where you just submit your transaction on some sort of marketplace. The Bitcoin leaves your wallet, and then you get that actual ordinal or inscription. The one thing that you have to note though, guys, is that because it's on the layer 1 of Bitcoin, the gas fee is a little bit more expensive, and it does take longer to process your transaction, usually at least 10 to 20 minutes. As far as my thoughts and outlook when it comes to these different ordinals, I think the Bitcoin ordinal space is going to grow a lot over time. Right now, it's a little bit more complex of an ecosystem, and you only have more advanced traders that are messing with these ordinals. I believe that more and more capabilities and infrastructure are going to be added over into the Bitcoin ecosystem, and different meta protocols and L2s are going to drive more attention as well as increase what you can actually do with these ordinals. Another thing to note is that the community is completely different over on Bitcoin than compared to Ethereum and Solana, and there's a lot of people with a lot of money over on Bitcoin that care more about the tech, the provenance, the art, and the community rather than some BS utility. As far as some other notes that you need to know is that it's becoming increasingly more expensive to mint or inscribe these new ordinals, and because of that, I think it's going to get to the point where it's so dramatically expensive to actually mint these different ordinals because the cost is based on the data of the image, which is very expensive even right now. And I think over time, it could cost hundreds or thousands of dollars to just mint or inscribe one ordinal. And when that happens, I think these early ordinals are going to have a lot more value, or at least the major ones that have a lot of provenance and were early, simply because it is going to be out of the realm of possibility or logistically making sense for projects to launch on Bitcoin in the future. And the last point here is, if you are going to invest in the space, either get into new mints and inscriptions that usually have been doing well, at least as of recently, and then maybe for a longer term hold, get into some of these top projects that have demonstrated them being here and them being early from early on. That pretty much wraps up everything you need to know about ordinals. And we actually at Jelly Cubes are going to be launching our own 100 ordinal inscription collection called Jelly Cubes over on Bitcoin. And they're all these 1-for-1 Jelly Cubes. And I'm actually very excited to do that because I think there is so much more potential and so much more opportunities happening in Bitcoin in general. And I wanted Jelly Cubes to be a part of that. If you want to learn more about that project, we'll have some links in the description.